It took me over 700 paintings to understand what I'm going to teach you today. I'm going to show you my exact method for painting this scene, the brush trick that simplifies painting trees, what I'm doing with this heat gun, and most importantly, my thought process through the entire thing. That way you can take these ideas and use them in your own scenes. These concepts have massively helped out my students. Jeffrey is taking giant steps forward. Maureen has learned to see her scenes in a whole new way, and Michelle is now taking commissions and getting her work into shows. Now let's talk about composition for a minute. I decided to group these trees and get rid of some of the trees on the right side. This is a Steelyard composition, and I learned this from Edgar Payne in his wonderful book about composition and landscape. If you'd like me to make a video about that book specifically and those concepts, leave a comment down below. So the idea is to create some balance in a way by removing some of these trees, grouping these trees over here, and then putting a really important area of interest right here. I added a little bit of a cloud and I angled it coming in this way to catch the eye onto the tree, to bring the eye down to here, let the shadow bring us over here, let this tree bring us back to here. I also added in this figure. This gives us a clear area of focus and it adds a narrative into the scene. I like to lay in the first wash on wet paper and let those colors softly merge together. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here. First, I lay in a very thin wash of lavender and raw sienna. That's going to be the color for the cloud. Now I start dropping in some blue. And for that blue, I'm using cerulean blue and a touch of cobalt blue. Before I move on, I come in with a paper towel and I dry off part of that cloud where I want a more defined edge. That allows me, when I go back in with my deep, rich blue for the top of the sky, to maintain some of those firmer edges. Don't go too light at the top of your sky. It's a much deeper and richer blue sky the higher that we get. And when we look more down towards the horizon line, it's a much more diffused, lighter blue color. Now I'm going in with a damp, clean brush and just softening some of the edges, just tweaking this a little bit. I'm going to talk about all the pigments that I'm using along the way, but if you have more questions about my palette layout and how I mix, take a look at that mixing guide that I have down in the description below. There's those bright colored yellow aspens. I took some cadmium yellow along with some raw sienna, and I drop that in now and just let that fuzz and melt into this first wash. This is the light value for the road, but look how dark it is compared to the white paper. When you compare any value to white paper, it's going to look too strong. But remember, if we paint this too light, the value structure is not going to work. Now I'm dropping in the lighter green color. Notice that I'm still getting soft edges everywhere. I'm not too worried about keeping these colors separate. I'm letting them blend on the paper and merge together. That's okay. This first wash is very loose and abstract, but it's the foundation for the light in the scene. That is raw sienna with some cobalt turquoise. While this is damp, I can still go drop in some other colors. You'll see here I went back and dropped in more of that vibrant yellow color that I'm going to paint around later. I'll use some cadmium orange with a little bit of burnt sienna to come up with that color for his shirt. I want to drop some color in for the trees now. By layering the light, middle, and darks, it's a much more interesting effect than if I was just going to paint the tree with one solid color. And I'm going back to where the grass is and dropping in some darker value just to keep adding variety. The paper is still damp, but I'm going to go ahead and move forward and paint the distant hills. If I was to look at the reference photo into the background, I see so much contrast and detail back there. The key to the depth in this scene is going to be to soften and minimize that background to really let it sit back there. See how soft that mark is? The paint is just spreading out on the paper. That tells me that the paper is still too wet. In order for me to just dry it a little bit, I'm using my heat gun here. If you want to stop here and come back later when the paper is completely dry, you can dampen the paper again to get a soft edge. I like to just move forward and keep painting when I'm in the flow. It's dry enough that I can start having a little bit of control, but again, not super hard edges. Okay, so the colors for the background mountain are cobalt blue, a little bit of raw sienna, and some neutral tint. Now when I get down into here, I'm using a thicker mixture of what I use for the light green. Raw sienna, cobalt turquoise, with a little bit of neutral tint. Notice that I'm leaving little gaps. I don't want to just cover the whole thing up. I want to imply some information, some interest in the background. And you'll notice when I start to get closer into the middle ground, I'm increasing my values. So compare the strength of this to what's in the background. That subtle little difference helps you create depth. And now I'm ready to move up and paint some of the trees. See how the brush here is split apart. Before I bring it over to the paper, I'm pushing it down and separating the brush so I can create multiple marks with each brush stroke. And it creates a more natural approach than if I was to paint every single mark. And now one of the keys to creating depth and light in this scene is the difference between the soft background and the hard, crisp edges I'm creating with these brush marks. This is a hang up that students run into a lot, is they're using too much water and they're not able to get those broken dry brush defined marks. What you can do is use some scrap paper and practice those brush marks. All right, I'm working my way through the trees here, and that mixture is more of the same: raw sienna, cobalt turquoise, and mixing in a little bit of cadmium yellow. A lot of these are in my mixing guide that you can get down in the description. I'm ready to add some structure to these trees. I added a stronger version of the same pigments on top of the figure to start to give it more of a light side, shadow side. And what I need to do next is paint the shadow. Shadows are a big unifier, and by having a darker shadow in the foreground like this, we're pushing the viewer's eye further into the scene. We want to get our viewer's attention right up here and not get stuck right here. Before I jump in and paint the shadows, I want to dampen the paper a little bit. So I'm taking a clean brush, applying a little bit of water, and now I'm starting to paint the shadows. I'm using a little bit of Rose Madder Permanent, Cobalt Blue, and neutral tint. By changing the ratio, I can have warmer or cooler parts of the shadow. Much more interesting than just using the same color all the way through. I'm really into the darks and the details. I'm going in with a rigger brush now, and I'm adding a few branches and just kind of finishing up the look of these trees. And now it's time to finish up the figure. I'm using the same mixtures that I was using from the light wash, the middle value wash, and now through the darks. I give him a little walking stick. And the next thing I do is I use some ivory white Holbein gouache to paint his white hat. Give him a little more defined shadow. And by the way, if you're intrigued with my painting process and you want to know more about that, take a look at my 5-step guide down in the description below. Thousands of painters have downloaded that and let me know how helpful that is to help them plan out their scenes. These directional lines here are very important just to lead the viewer's eye into the scene. It really helps the light out too by having those marks cut through the shadow and the light parts. By not being so bound to the reference photo, we can really unlock so much creativity and focus in our paintings. But if you don't understand the layering process, you're not going to get very far. That's why I made a complete video on that subject that you can see right here.